that is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode number 96 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where four friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. My name is Adam, and usually I'd say hello to Sam first, but he isn't here.
Loser.
Boo. People heard last week, if they listen to the pod, that he's got a big boy job now and he's got lots of work to do. Bret, as somebody who has often missed the pod.
Yeah, I have to say I haven't listened to the last week's one yet, so I don't know how much of a ribbon
Bret.
I mean,
Good
the
Lord.
ribbing was mostly for your cat. So, yeah, you should listen back because I think hopefully you'll have a bit of a laugh at it. But just don't let Harry have a listen. But yeah, good to have you back. John, how are you?
Yeah, good, actually. I've had quite a weird day because I've been working from home today and my wife was out straight after work, so I don't feel like I've had much human contact today.
Oh, that's my everyday. Yeah, that's literally every day for me is like that.
That explains a lot, actually.
Even the weekends, my wife and daughter just go out and leave me alone. No, that is not true. But yeah, it's very weird. It takes some getting used to. That's why I enjoy the podcast so much, because I get to actually speak to some real friends. Last week we did our NXT UK Takeover Blackpool 2 review that Bret hasn't even listened to.
Oh, guys, I watched NXT UK just before this podcast.
Oh my god!
I was thought you were going to say I watched NXT UK Takeover. Yes, you did. Hopefully,
how was it?
It was one of those typical sort of post-takeover shows where it's just two matches. The first match was just some kid versus Joseph Connors, and then there was loads of like promo stuff, and then there was
they were the two dark matches, weren't they? From the event.
It was Mastiff versus Cassius Ohno. I have to be honest, I skipped all of it and just watched the main event because I'm like, I don't care about some kid, and I'm not watching all those videos about Takeover because I watched Takeover.
Yes, it sounds as if you need to watch this week's.
Yes.
I find that annoying with the NXTs where they like the show after a takeover, like they just blast it with loads of videos from the takeover.
I don't mind it because at least I feel like the wrestlers are having a bit of a rest. I feel that wrestlers need a rest.
Yeah, they do.
In a way, it lets the viewer have a rest as well. After the build to the pay-per-view and then the pay-per-view, it kind of means I can kind of take a week off and then get back into it. But yeah, I mean, that was a running theme, whether or not we'd continue to watch. So I'm impressed that you did find the time. Yeah, good stuff. So this podcast is a rewind episode, which is something we haven't done for a long, long time. We usually go back into the archives, usually on the WWE network, and watch a classic pay-per-view. I don't know if it was the last rewind or the one before. We decided to, I think John picked
Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat.
Classic.
Yeah, which is obviously a classic. And we enjoyed it so much that we decided to do what's probably up there as the other classic wrestling documentary, Hitman Hart, Wrestling with Shadows. And we're going to talk all about that after this.
Go get him, champ.
And me, I'm Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, your kids are pretty safe if they're watching me on Saturday mornings. I send out a pretty wholesome message.
Wow.
The Hitman stands for sticking up for yourself and to never quit. The one thing I won't do is lie to my fans.
Hitman Hart, Wrestling with Shadows. It's a 1998 Canadian documentary film directed, produced and written by Paul Jay. It follows WWF superstar Bret the Hitman Hart during his last year in the WWF, from his WWF Championship victory at SummerSlam to his final match with the company and the infamous Montreal Screwjob at the pay-per-view Survivor Series on November the 9th, 1997. That was all free flow. I didn't read Wikipedia.
Sounded very natural.
It did, didn't it? So natural. First things first, as our resident Bret Hart superfan, Bret, you must have been excited when we said we were going to do this one.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I've seen it a few times, but I always need to refresh my memory.
Of course, yeah, you probably forgot all of it. You've got the DVD, right?
I do, but I was just saying I lost it. It must be in the loft. I went through my stack of DVDs and Blu-rays twice, and I couldn't find it, so I was quite frustrated. I did find Beyond the Mat in there, but we did that before.
Yeah, that's no good. Lucky you didn't watch that again. Did you have the 2 discs special edition that came out 10 years after, or is it the original?
Oh, the original.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Just because I think there's an interview on that special edition with the director, which comes up later, which we'll talk about. So yeah, I mean, John, how many times have you seen this?
I think this is only my second, and I think I only saw it for the first time a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Well, I saw it for the first time 2 days ago.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
No wonder you were so excited for it then.
I was. And in fact, when it started playing, I was just like, yes, this is amazing, because I'm getting all the joy of wrestling stuff, but I'm not having to watch any adverts. I'm not having to watch any boring promos. I'm not having to watch any matches I don't want to watch. It's just all gold, full of great wrestlers, great action, and obviously a great narrative.
Some great quotes as well. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. But with Beyond the Mat, I thought I hadn't seen that, and then as I watched it, I realised I had seen it before. Whereas this, obviously, I know full well the story, but I hadn't seen it, so really, really enjoyed it. Some facts: it was released on December the 20th in 1998. As per usual, going to ask you guys what you were doing then, Brett, specifically on that exact day.
On that exact day. No idea, but in general I was at sixth form college, and I was playing basketball for the Bognor Pirates at that time.
The Bognor Pirates sounds like it's like a gay men's chorus.
John, what about you? Were you in a gay men's chorus?
I probably was. I was also at sixth form doing my A-levels in art and history.
No, you weren't.
I was. I literally just checked my CV, because my CV is the only thing that's got dates on it, and I was like, September 99 to June 2001, I was doing A-levels.
Yeah, but this is December 98.
Oh, okay. I was doing GCSEs.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm the oldest.
15. Yeah. I was just getting ready for Christmas, getting pumped for Christmas in 5 days, waiting for my Furby to arrive. I didn't actually ask for a Furby, but I did look, and that was the number one toy that Christmas. I bet Sam had a Furby.
Oh, definitely.
100% he had a Furby.
And I bet he had sex with that Furby as well.
Oh, God.
Oh,
come on, we're all thinking it. He definitely did.
Oh, God. Let's just let everybody think that for a bit longer. Disgusting. Number 1 in the UK charts. This is also Sam related, because it was Bewitched with To You I Belong.
Ooh.
Any ideas?
Nope, doesn't ring any bells.
Okay, well, I'm going to play a bit of that in the background. This is definitely a Bewitched song I've never heard of, and I'm sure 99% of their songs I've never heard of. But obviously we remember C'est La Vie, because Sam used to sing that in the office when we worked together regularly. They did have one other one, I can't remember what it was, more of a ballad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never heard this before in my life. But it got to number 1. Films, number 1 in the UK box office. A bit of a classic. I remember going to the cinema to see this. Rush Hour.
Rush
Really?
Hour. Yeah, that is a classic.
If you want the girl back alive, listen and do not talk. The drop will be made tonight, 11 p.m.
The amount will be $50 million.
$50 million? And who you think you kidnapped, Chelsea Clinton?
That is good, isn't it? And the sequels are pretty good.
Yeah.
At least they were at that when we
They
were
had
that
one
age.
fairly recently, didn't they? I think.
I believe so. I've not seen it, but I do
don't-
love the Rush Hour films.
Don't think anyone saw it.
No. Anyway, so yeah, that's what was going on in December 1998. But what was going on in wrestling? John, can you give us a comprehensive review of all wrestling at that time?
Oh,
Just
wrestling.
a rough idea of what was happening.
It's quite easy to sum up, actually, because we're in the middle of Monday Night Wars. And it's actually kind of a really important time in wrestling, because at this time, WCW was kind of beating WWE in the ratings.
Yeah.
And even in this documentary, you can start to see the shoots of the Attitude Era starting to sprout out.
Yeah.
Which
Brett is not a fan.
Not a fan. Brett is not a fan. So yeah, that's kind of it. So we're just at the very start of the Attitude Era. WCW are on top, but the end is nigh for them, unfortunately. Well, I'm not really, unfortunately. They're utter garbage, but
very true. So how did you guys actually watch it? Did you just watch it on YouTube?
Yeah, we were just talking about this before. There was two versions. There was like a 2-hour version, which was only in 240.
Yeah, and we both couldn't stomach that, so
we watched the 1 hour, which was in 480.
Really?
1 hour 30. Sorry, 1 hour 30.
I was going to say, I watched the 2-hour version, and it was fucking awful quality. It was a real slog. No, I mean, any time you have to watch anything that isn't in HD these days, it's tough. I couldn't watch it full screen on my laptop. I had to watch it in a little window for it to actually be, okay to look at.
Yeah, because I watched it on my TV from my PlayStation, and there's no way I was doing the 240 on that. I was like, I'm a sadist.
So I wonder what you guys missed. I mean, to be honest, the longer version had loads of ad breaks, which, I mean, we're going to talk about stand-up moments and what the fuck moments. Some of my what the fuck moments were going to be the ad breaks because they were hilarious. Breaks? Yeah. I tell you what, let's just talk about it now. They had an advert for a product called Ben Gay, which is some sort of cream that you put on joints. I don't know.
Joints.
You are watching Hitman Hart, Wrestling with Shadows on A&E.
Did you know Ben Gay increases blood flow at the site of application? It's scientifically proven to decrease minor arthritis pain, improve flexibility, and increase range of motion. And Ultra Strength Ben Gay has 3 pain relievers, more than any leading brand. Ultra Strength Ben Gay.
Yeah, it sounds... I was going to say sounds familiar. But yeah, there's definitely like some jokes about Ben Gay back in the day, aren't there?
Yeah, of course there would have been.
There's Ben Day Dots. Do you remember Ben Day Dots?
No.
It's like the sort of Liechtenstein dots.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay. It's a bit too highbrow for us. And our listeners.
Sorry guys.
Yeah.
Sex with Furbies, though, right? Come on.
Yeah. There was a brilliant advert for AOL.
Oh, classic.
All my friends and family are on AOL.
I love AOL email.
You hear this really cool voice that says,
"You've got mail."
I love that.
We keep in touch through instant messaging.
It's having a verbal chat electronically.
That's really handy when I'm grounded.
I love shopping on AOL.
I use it for my portfolio. AOL is my newspaper.
You can get customer service anytime.
There are always people there to help me. With parental controls, I feel better about my kids being online.
My privacy is protected on America Online.
AOL has everything I want, all in one place.
America Online has stuff you won't find anywhere else.
Sign up today.
So do you reckon the extra half an hour was just adverts?
Quite possibly.
Yeah. God, that would have 240 and adverts. Man.
But the interesting thing as well is they had adverts for films as well. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was one of them.
Oh, that was that really back then?
I know, it was mad seeing a little baby Daniel Radcliffe.
Good Lord.
Anyway, let's focus on the task at hand. Obviously, Wrestling with Shadows. No matter how we watched it, we did watch it, and we're going to split this up a bit. We're going to talk about, obviously, all the moments we enjoyed, particular standout moments, any crazy, weird stuff, apart from the adverts, sort of what the fuck moments, as we call them. I'll talk a little bit about the fallout and the response, and then we'll hear a few listener comments as well. So, standout moments. I mean, should we start more generally before we go into specifics and just say... just overall that it's just the whole thing is a standout piece of work?
Yeah, I mean the absolute luck of the director to start a documentary when all this went down.
Yeah,
is just unbelievable. He probably couldn't believe.
Yeah, he must have been so happy. He was oh my god, this is going to make me so much money.
Yeah.
There's a quote from him that says, "The gods of documentary filmmaking were smiling on us."
Yeah, because
very true.
Especially if you're doing fly on the wall stuff. Usually, even if nothing, amazingly controversial like that happens, it can be generally interesting because life is interesting and different stuff happens for different people, and it's a nice insight. But then to have that as well is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it kind of feels a bit like Netflix documentaries these days, where it's sort of plodding along as one thing. Like, oh, this is just a nice wrestling documentary about Bret Hart. And then at the end, it suddenly transforms into, whoa.
Yeah, it's astonishing, really. Because the build is so good. All the background, the family stuff, when it takes in turn to go through each of his heel rivals and looking behind the scenes at setting up like a big show and all that kind of stuff, and looking at his relationships. That's just genuinely really, really interesting. And I think it's definitely a documentary that you could probably show anyone, wrestling fan or not.
I'd say it's a little bit hard just because Bret's quite dour and kind of miserable.
I guess so. Yeah, I can see that.
He's not like a fun time guy, is he?
What I liked about this, though, he seemed like even before the contract stuff, before any of that, he just seemed like he was feeling a bit done with the travelling.
Yeah.
And the life. Like, because obviously, he'd lived it from, from a kid with his family, like his whole family being wrestling and his career and just all that, because he was having to travel everywhere. Like abroad as well as thingy. And he definitely seemed like he was done with that.
Yeah, and disillusioned with the business, as John mentioned, all the sort of, the sexy stuff and I was trying to think of the right phrase. All I can think of was sexy.
Lewd.
Yeah, exactly. And the stuff that wasn't necessarily family friendly, and he was obviously very keen. He even mentioned at one point that his kids can't even watch anymore. He doesn't want his kids to watch it.
And I mean,
the way things have gone.
To be fair, like obviously in the ratings battle, Vince decided there was a route he was going to go to get people watching, and a lot of what he did, we now look back on and say, God, that was awful.
God, we miss it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, what about specifics, John? Got a specific little highlight?
Well, I'm going to mention two. One very quickly. I really loved the bit where Bret was talking about with Pat Patterson about how he was going to lay out the match, and they sort of showed the match and them talking over the top of it about, then we go to the outside and then you work his leg and then they really sell that. And I just thought that sort of insight about how they lay out the match beforehand and just in their heads just talk about it.
Which match was that? That was like one of the middle matches, wasn't it?
I can't remember who it was against. Remember
which it was.
That wasn't it wasn't the Undertaker one, was it? I think it was before that.
Wasn't it the Hart Foundation match?
Yes, it would have been a Canadian Stampede, right? That one.
Yeah. So it was who were they against?
It was Stone
Cold, Shamrock, and Legion of Doom.
Oh, I tell you what, we should do a rewind for that pay-per-view. That pay-per-view is great, Canadian Stampede.
Yeah, that would be good actually.
But
I really like that.
That bit was cool, and also just the whole, like the behind-the-scenes stuff for the screw job is fascinating. Like all the tension, like on everyone's face, even before the match, was all there. Like everyone knew something. There was unease in the air.
There was. Everybody was saying goodbye to him and saying they're going to miss him, and
but my absolute favourite bit was Bret Hart's missus giving Triple H loads of shit backstage afterwards.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And just him just sort of looking off.
Yeah, well, he just kept on looking at his feet, didn't he? Like a
naughty schoolboy. Yeah, exactly. He looked like he was outside the headmaster's getting a real dressing down. Sorry, miss. Bret, any specific moments?
Well, I mean, I'll just go on from like what we just said there, and I'll mention another specific moment. But it was what I thought was quite good in this documentary, though, and echoed in what his wife was saying, was like, because you saw them playing with the kids beforehand, and it being all like fun, friendly, and that was all in the lead up to that, if that was that night and what was going to happen, and it was just like, and they knew that stuff, and that was all happening. It was just bonkers. But so my standout moment was, one was definitely Bret Hart's anti-America promo.
Oh, that I noted that down
when he
as
was talking about healthcare, gun control, the racial prejudice, and I was just like, wow, things haven't changed.
I know, it's like 30 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, I thought that on quite a few occasions. I think there was one time when early on when they had people talking about wrestling in general, and there was a fan talking about why he likes wrestling, and he was like, well, there's not really a lot to like in life at the moment, but at least I've got wrestling. And I was just like, God, you hear people saying that now, the state the world's in, and this was 30 years ago, as you say. But yeah.
What about you, Adam? Any standout moments?
I've got quite a few. One in particular was Vader when we saw him and he was lacing up his boots and he was telling us about his degree in business and the 100,000 foot
shopping mall
shopping centre.
I was meant to research, see what happened to that shopping centre.
Oh yeah, we really should. But I think also the family stuff, like his mum talking about how he really didn't want her daughters to get involved with wrestlers and didn't really want the sons to get into wrestling, and now like they couldn't be more into wrestling, the whole family.
Yeah.
And like the reminder of how amazing that was, like literally everybody, it was either a wrestler or married to a wrestler. And some great wrestlers as well.
Yeah. What I found really interesting, quite funny, is when Bret was talking about the Hart Foundation, he was going, Owen, one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. You got the British Bulldog, one of the strongest wrestlers in the world. You got Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He's a character.
And it seems that Bret was giving him his lines anyway.
Yeah, and just the sadness of, what then goes on to happen with the Hart Foundation in general in life.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Owen didn't really feature at all, did he?
No, I was just thinking that's weird. It's a bit disappointing, actually. It'd been good to see a bit more Owen.
I was going to say it's gutting, isn't it? Because you want to see more of Owen.
Yeah, it's a shame when they said, what a high flyer he is. Why didn't they have any footage of him actually performing?
Also, in that in the contrast, when it could have been good because they spoke a lot about Bret being the good guy. He was always the good guy. And that's how he, felt best as his character and everything. And then they were turning him heel, whereas Owen Hart was mostly a heel.
Yeah.
The jealous brother and etc. So, and he did that brilliantly. So, it would have quite been cool for them to echo some of that.
Yeah.
Bret did not want to go heel, did he?
No.
He did not.
No.
It's very real for Bret. That's what I found fascinating about this, is that how real it feels for Bret Hart. Like the Hitman character, it feels so real to him.
I think that's, I think I'm just going to stick up for Bret Hart because he's my dude from the get-go. But I think in reality though, we know wrestlers swap from heel to face and everything, but they need to, in reality, for it to work, sort of stay true to what the character that they've built.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, which he was trying to do. And some of the best guys, that is their character. They're not switching characters or suddenly being something that's really not them, because no one would be sold on it.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that, he wanted, he really struggled with that because he was the good guy, and obviously he loved being, I guess, that person post. And obviously we know Hulk Hogan in real life wasn't a good guy, but he was that person post WWF good guy.
Yeah. I think that bit in particular was really cool to watch. Just remembering that match and the double turn for Bret and Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Were you watching at that time, Bret? How did you take it when you heard the news that Bret had gone heel?
I was sort of watching. I wasn't as mega mark at that point, but I was watching, and I was, for me that was wrestling. People go heel and face, so I wasn't too shocked about it.
No, you're supposed to say you were devastated. You had to take a few days off, but change your name.
But at the same time, I was noticing with some of my friends at the time as well, which is what was happening was that as the Attitude Era was coming in, the fans were cheering the bad guys. The Rock was a bad guy.
Yeah.
So when he took off, and Stone Cold was a bad guy, and that's what people were cheering for.
Yeah.
And the good guys weren't they weren't interesting to people. Suddenly the bad guys were the interesting characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean Bret, he did come across well. I know what you're saying about him being dour, but I really liked the time when we saw him with his family, particularly with his son, giving him the little neck massage in the back of the car and playing N64.
Really
how cool! Playing as himself on the N64, whatever version of the game. I mean, I'm sure lots of listeners will be screaming what game that was. I probably had that game actually.
He did come across very genuine. I don't think he was pretending or projecting anything. I think that was Bret Hart.
He did. and a clear love for the game, even though he was a bit disillusioned. But when he was talking about the art of wrestling and how he always hit hard, he never left a bruise on anybody. I love that. I love, like, you know, talking about you've got to make it look like you're hurting people, but never actually hurt people.
Yeah, after learning from his dad, who literally hurt everyone
in
the dungeon.
Oh my god! I was going to get on that in the what the fuck moments.
Yeah, that was my what the fuck moment.
Yeah, that'll be probably the first one we talk about on there. Last couple of standout moments. What about the shot of Earl Hebner when Bret's when he's talking about him being able to trust Earl, and they have that black and white shot, and it shows Earl sort of looking at the camera. Obviously just taken from somewhere else, but the way it works with the voiceover, it was brilliant. I love that.
Well, I don't have to worry about the referee tomorrow because I talked to Earl. He swore on his kids that he's not going to let anything happen. And I can trust Earl.
I really loved the interviews with Vince, where he was obviously had a massive black eye, but was trying to cover it up with makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. All the chats with Vince are classic.
I guess like the main standout moment for me, like I've watched this a few times, but I've never really it's like, or I forget stuff, is the fact that Bret was struggling with staying loyal to his boss and the company he'd worked for, and his contract coming up, and him being offered shed loads more money,
so much money,
and he you could see he really was like struggling, and he was like, because he really wanted to stay with WWF. And then, so then he signs this long-term deal with Vince, but for a lot less money. And then obviously, Vince rips it out from him a year later. So I just think it was really, that was another thing we know plenty about, Vince's business things, but it was just like a standout moment of someone that was seeing loyalty, because when you work places and stuff, you sort of have this weird loyalty where you don't want to upset bosses or whatnot, but when you realize for the bosses it's just business and they actually don't, it doesn't work the other way around.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
I think
we have that realization.
We all have quite first-hand knowledge of that.
Yeah. And it happens across the board, and that's why I think it's a standout moment. It's like, as an employee, you have this loyalty, which I don't know how they manage to work it in you, but they do.
I mean, we've got to confess that when we worked together, we didn't really have any loyalty to our boss, did we?
No, not at all.
No.
I think we had loyalty to
each other, and to the company and the work we were creating. But our boss, absolutely not. And if you're listening, hi.
Then this is about you.
Yeah, this is all about you. This whole podcast is therapy for us.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Anyway, I mean, the only other stand-up moment that I had noted down was the actual presentation of the match, the Montreal Screwjob match, and seeing Shawn Michaels straddling the Canadian flag and Bret's son walking out with him, and just knowing what was going to happen and just thinking, oh my God, this is mad.
Yeah. It was cool when they were backstage as well, and Bret was getting undressed and he was you could
all
see
right, John.
him. I mean, he does look great without a top on. He's got great pecs, seriously.
Not pillowy enough for me. That's a callback to last week, Bret. You'd know if you'd listened.
But where he's talking to Shawn Michaels, do you have anything to do with this? No, not me. Nothing to do with me. I'm washing my hands with it. Swear to God.
And you could tell he knew.
I reached around to grab Sean's leg, and I could hear someone say, "Ring the bell." That's when I knew it was Vince McMahon. I finally realized that they screwed me. They really screwed me, the lousy bastards.
So let's break it down. Screwjob. Who do you reckon knew? Do you reckon it was all the work?
Well, I mean, Shawn Michaels has admitted he knew.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels definitely
in an interview.
Yeah. Apparently, Triple H knew.
Yeah. Well, Triple H was in there, wasn't he?
Pretty sure Vince knew. I think
you could tell Vince knew. Obviously, we know he knew, but when Bret asked to have a chat with him beforehand when they'd arrived, you could just see in Vince's face that he was going to have to go and bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go and talk to him and lie to him, and hopefully he won't walk out of the building and we'll have this match.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was going to bring up whether or not I would have a discussion about it all being a work, kind of in the what the fuck moments, because there were a couple of moments where you just think, like, there was one clear bit where the audio was obviously dubbed, and it's difficult because documentary makers, obviously it's all like a reworking of the truth and what actually happened at the time to make it look better on film. But there's a bit where he was like, that piece of shit's locked himself in the office, and he clearly didn't say that. And then there were other bits where, just the fact that he was wearing a mic when he was in the office with Vince discussing the end of the match, you just think, well, that's too convenient.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. And then the footage of Vince limping. I don't necessarily think it's a work, but I can definitely see why there's so much that would point towards it. I think the main reason why I don't think it is because I just think it would have come out by now.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's a work.
No, I don't
at all.
Okay, well there we go then. That's decided.
Screw job done.
It's just so difficult when it's wrestling, because actually when they were backstage, or when they had the bit in the locker room and Bret was really pissed off and talking to Shawn and be like, did you know about this? I was just thinking, God, this could be acting, because in a way he didn't seem angry enough.
Yeah, I
but then
didn't think
he was quite
angry
placid.
Enough. Yeah,
but he had his kid next to him, didn't he?
True.
He had it like you would feel like you need to curb yourself with your kid next to you.
And like straight after the match, he like smashes a monitor on a desk. But that was so wrestling. That was so like wrestling anger, rather than you feel like he'd be absolutely fuming. But then as we saw throughout the documentary, he's quite a dour individual.
He did spit in Vince's face as well. Like,
that's very true.
With a proper like heart lurgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also thought, like, straight after Shawn Michaels, like, when it happened, it looked like he was like desperately seeing, like, is he going to beat me up now?
Well, yeah.
After when he turned around, like, shit, am I in trouble? No? Okay, I'm going to look at Vince. What's going on?
I think we've got to believe it. I mean, when I was watching it, I was thinking, I was preparing to read some reviews and maybe read some other bits and bobs, get some facts and stuff for the podcast. I was expecting to read a lot more about people saying it was a work, and there really isn't that much. I mean, most of the creditable websites that review these kind of things, and all the big wrestling websites, just talk about how great it is, what a great documentary, what a great story, what a like crazy thing to have happened, and barely any of them are sort of suggesting it wasn't real.
No, the thing is with wrestling, like, the real life is bonkers. Yeah, it always is. It's more bonkers than what goes on in the ring or in the storylines, and that's saying something with the Attitude Era and stuff.
Yeah, certainly this period of time it is definitely.
But wrestling was bonkers as anything in the real life. So why you would think, oh no, this must be a work, is crazy.
It's just because it's so perfect, just so perfect, particularly for the documentary. But anyway, so I mean, go back to other what the fuck moments. We all said that we wanted to talk about Stu Hart making young men scream.
Yeah, his brand of teaching.
Footage where they were going around the house where it was empty, and just you hearing the screaming from the dungeon underneath is some of the most harrowing footage I've ever seen.
I was like, what is this? This can't be real.
You notice his face? Look at the veins in his temples. They're getting... His lips are getting a little blue, sort of, and they're getting...
And you had Stu telling the guy, like, he could make his eyes go bloodshot for a week or something, and then like a little bit after, Bret talks about how his dad made his eyes bloodshot and he had to go to school with like...
He's a scary man.
He really is, isn't he?
Even though he was very frail in this. And you'd think he wouldn't be able to do anything to you if he gets you in a hold.
Yeah, like when some poor young trainees went down there, they sort of shot it when he was like stretched them out, and just that bald guy was not having a good time.
He wasn't, no. And the other guy was like, he actually looked terrified, thinking, I'm next.
Yeah. He knew he was next.
And the little kid was probably thinking, I'm a kid, he's not going to do that to me.
Oh, he's going to do that to you, mate. Don't you worry.
I enjoyed all the Stu Hart stuff, though. I was going to say that it seemed that Bret really loved his dad, but then you don't know if it's actually he was just so terrified of his dad.
He mentioned it several times, didn't he? Like he was scared of his dad growing up.
Yeah. So I mean, when he was doing the speech, being like, "Oh, I just want to be like you, Dad," and stuff like that, you think, are you just saying that? Because otherwise, he's going to make your eyes bloodshot again.
It's kind of fascinating to hear a bit of Stu's backstory, though. You know, like his dad was in prison. He sort of grew up in foster home. That's how he learned to wrestle in the streets. It's like kind of cool.
Yeah, and he's looked into it. He's responsible for training the likes of Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit. Said his name. Brian Pillman, Davey Boy Smith, Jushin Thunder Liger, Jim Neidhart, superstar Billy Graham, and Tyson Kidd.
Jushin Thunder Liger, I never knew that.
Yeah, I mean, they all spent time in the dungeon.
Yeah,
whether or not that be for an hour or 6 months, you know, they weren't exclusively trained by him. But yeah, an amazing man.
Fascinating.
Any other crazy, weird moments? I mean, I'm going to say this one really quick, and then we'll move on. Bret talking about rape.
Yeah, that was weird.
I won't let them rape me.
Yeah,
it was a different time.
I heard that. I was like, no, I'm sure he didn't say that.
Then he repeated it just to make sure. Yeah, there was his weird electric chair. Dummy thing.
So glad I mentioned
in his
that.
basement.
What is going on with that?
I know, that is both like weird, morbid, a bit wrong. You know,
troubling.
It's like,
I think it's the best way to describe
execution by electric
What was
chair.
that? Because I missed that, and we've got a comment coming up from MJ a bit later.
He basically had like a life-sized replica of an electric chair and a guy in the chair, and it was motorized. So he basically, convulsed, shook back and forwards as like lights blinked, and made noises like he was being electrocuted.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of darkness in the hearts. There's a lot of darkness there. It's worrying. So we dig down under the surface.
That was weird. And also the fans during the American fans after all the Canada, anti-America stuff.
Oh, those fan interviews.
They were proper, like, they took our jobs.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Oh my God. Just 90s wrestling fans.
Yeah, what was that guy who was like, we didn't start it, they started it.
Oh, that guy that was American but wearing a Canadian t-shirt.
Yeah, he was sticking up for Bret. Yeah, it was weird. The fans were weird. It was so real to them.
It was. I loved it. It was all like, I love seeing all the meet and greets, and some of the like young girls who would just stand like completely statue still, staring, just not knowing how to react, like he's some like boy band member or something like that. I suppose it was a sort of similar vibe, the superstars at that time, particularly someone like Bret Hart, like absolute heartthrob.
Great pecs.
He was.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Any other weird moments, or do you think we've covered them?
Oh, one quick one. They showed a clip of after the must have been Canadian Stampede. Maybe it's definitely a match with Stone Cold. Stone Cold got up and Bret was leaving the ring and gave the referee a stunner, and the referee took it like a sack of shit.
Oh, that looked like he probably would have hurt himself taking it like that. He literally just like flopped, didn't he?
Oh, so like it's up there with Vince as the worst stunner I've ever seen.
That was good. I loved seeing all the old stuff with Stone Cold, the chats with Mankind.
Oh yeah, they were lovely.
Or Mick Foley in general. It was just great. Just great. It makes me want to go back and watch some more pay-per-views from this era. Okay, so moving on to the Fallout. I did mention that double disc special edition of the film that came out had an interview with Paul Jay where he revealed some interesting stuff. He actually said that he already had a deal in place with Vince to provide stock footage and waivers for the use of the names and likenesses of the other wrestlers featured in the film. But after the fallout from the Screwjob, Vince feared how he would be portrayed in the film and refused both. WCW then contacted the filmmakers and not only offered to pay for a lawsuit, an estimated cost of $750,000, but also offered a pay-per-view deal for the film and a long-term distribution deal on the Turner Network. And then obviously once Vince became aware of this, the producers received a fax saying that they would honour their original contract on the condition that the lawsuit be dropped and they could never sell the film to Turner. And Jay decided to, he made the film drop the lawsuit.
Oh, really?
There you
Interesting.
Yeah, that could have been quite different. Bret obviously left for WCW after this, where he became the 5th Triple Crown champion by winning the World Heavyweight title 2 times, the US Heavyweight title 4 times, and the World Tag Team title once. He then returned to WWE for various appearances in 2005 before being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. He was Raw General Manager for a little bit in 2010. And then in 2019, he became a 2-time Hall of Famer when he was inducted as part of the Hart Foundation alongside Jim Neidhart before he was tackled to the ground by an audience member.
Oh, God, yeah.
Shawn Michaels held the title until WrestleMania 14, where he lost to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Prior to that, at the 1998 Royal Rumble, he got really badly injured in the casket match with The Undertaker. He herniated 2 discs and crushed one completely. And it was that injury that led him to retire the day after losing the title to Austin. On an episode of Raw in 2010, Michaels admitted to knowing all along about the Screwjob plan, but he and Bret reconciled in the ring and agreed to put it behind them. And it is believed that is true. That wasn't a work either. They are cool with each other now.
Yeah, there's some good interviews with them.
Yeah,
quite a long one on YouTube I watched a little while ago where they're, and you can see them both get a bit shirty with each other, but also, answer the questions and go through a lot of that stuff, which is quite good, interesting.
I mean, it seemed as if Bret wasn't a fan of Shawn Michaels in general at that time.
No.
And the approach that Michaels took.
Well, I mean, that was also that was the clique as well, wasn't it? With a little bit before that, because some of them left, but with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, it definitely changed the locker room, as it were.
Where do you guys prefer this to be on the mat? What do you reckon's better?
Oh,
that's tough. If you had to recommend watch it, like to listen to watch one, which one?
Oh God, you've got me there.
I'm sticking with my man Hitman.
Yeah, I just think the narrative of this is so good. I think if you're not that into wrestling, then you're probably not listening to this right now. But if you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a friend or a parent or something, and you're like, I kind of want to get them to know why I like wrestling, then maybe this is the way to go. Because if you show them Beyond the Mat, they might be a bit confused.
Yeah, this is dark. Who's this Jake the Snake guy? He seems dark.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the brilliant thing about that is the 3 different stories, and also different. I mean, they're both so good. What about you, John?
I think Wrestling with Shadows is a better film, like documentary, than Beyond the Mat.
I think it's because you're following, one story, and it turns out to be one quite clear story.
Yeah.
It's in like a microcosm, isn't it? It's just this one. It's just like a couple of months, isn't it? Really covers. And, it's some fascinating insight as well. But Beyond the Mat is phenomenal.
Well, the people agree with you, John, because in terms of the response, this was critically acclaimed and won numerous awards at film festivals, but it also has an IMDb rating of 8.1 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89%.
It's very good.
Which compared to Beyond the Mat got 7.6 and 86%. So the people think this is just a bit better. But yeah, they're definitely the big 2, aren't they, in terms of wrestling documentaries?
Oh, totally.
Cool. So there we go. We have reviewed the big 2. Maybe we'll go back and look at some other documentaries at some point for another rewind, but I think our next one will more likely be a pay-per-view. I think, Bret, you were due to pick the next one. Any ideas what you might choose?
Oh, not a foggiest.
No, put you on the spot. Yeah. Okay, well, that is the end of the Hitman Hart Wrestling with Shadows review, and we're going to have some listener comments after this break.
I have no sympathy for Bret whatsoever. None. I have no sympathy for someone not doing the right thing for the business that made him, not doing the right thing for the fans and the performers and the organization who helped make him what he is today. Bret made a very, very selfish decision. Bret's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. Bret screwed Bret. I have no sympathy whatsoever for Bret.
Okay, John,
Hello.
go for it.
So we have listeners, and they have been in touch.
All of them?
Some, probably all, let's be honest.
Yeah, we got 4 comments. That's probably all of them.
MJ from Utah Cult says, when the puppet of the prisoner in the electric chair is executed, I'd imagine Bret is like that when he's asked to redo wrestling posters.
Yeah.
See, this is quite confusing, this, because Bret Hart?
Oh.
Bret Jones?
I mean, he has used 2 T's.
Yeah,
so
I think he's... I'm going to, say he's talking about me there.
I've got to admit, when I first read that comment, I was like, what does he mean? Why does Bret... Does Bret Hart get asked to, reshoot old posters? And it was literally, as I pasted this into the document earlier, I thought, oh, it's Bret, and he's used the 2 T's. He's used the double T. MJ's not the kind of guy who'd spell a wrestler's name wrong. So, yeah, Bret, when Riptide tell you that the poster isn't good enough and you want to redo it, do you act like like you're being executed?
Do you say, I'd sooner blow my brains out?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much when I've drawn a poster and then I see one of the wrestlers has been is injured and out for a long time before it goes out. I know I have to redraw it. So it's at that point before I hear. I know the conversation's coming.
Cool. Thank you, MJ.
Thank you. Also, Joshua Owen, he says, I woke up early one morning to watch Bret promote it on Channel 4 show, The Big Breakfast. It was a really cool documentary. I still go back and watch it now sometimes.
Oh my God. Bret Hart and The Big Breakfast would have been amazing. I might try and find that and see if that's on YouTube. I used to love The Big Breakfast.
Do you reckon it was like Chris Evans or Johnny Vaughan?
1998. This is going to be tough. It might have been...
Must be Johnny Vaughan.
I'm going to find out, guys. Right, 1998, the presenter, we had Johnny Vaughan, 97 to 2001, and Denise Van Houten. A vintage pairing.
Oh.
Probably my favourite pairing, actually, of all the presenters.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although when Kelly Brook came, I was extremely delighted for different reasons entirely.
Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Alex Sugden? I'm going to go Sugden.
Sugden.
Alex Sugden.
Sugden. Call him Sugden. I'm sure he loves that.
Alex, one of the Hart brothers is when one of the Hart brothers is doing an impression of Stu and rubbing his hands together, that's a very creepy moment. I don't remember that.
No, me either. Must have been so creepy. I blocked it.
I think Alex has made that up. That's just in his subconscious.
I mean, they are quite creepy. I mean, they're dark, the Harts. They're definitely creepy. I mean, plus, if you grew up in that environment, I mean, it's going to disturb you, isn't it? You're not going to grow up well, are you? Like, mentally stable.
No.
Just screams coming from your basement 24/7.
I know, yeah. That's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, I googled Big Breakfast Bret Hitman Hart, and the only video that's come up is actually Yokozuna on the Big Breakfast 6 days before his death.
Oh, rest in peace, Yoko.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to watch that after this. Who's next?
Final listener comment is from Loserweight. He says, fascinating watch, great companion to his autobiography. I'm a massive Bret mark, but I'm still 100% convinced that the Montreal Screwjob is the greatest work in history.
Boom. Yeah. There we have it.
Not convinced.
I mean, if Loserweight, I mean, we usually agree with pretty much everything he says, so.
The autobiography is great.
Is it?
Yeah, I might need to give that a read.
It is a really good read.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks, listeners.
Thank you very much.
Always, it's difficult sometimes with the rewinds because you're basically asking people to remember what we're talking about because obviously I doubt many people will have watched it this week. You never know, though. And I wonder if people will go and seek out the documentary after listening to this pod.
I hope so. It's worth it. Go watch it. It's good.
Oh, God, it's worth it. If you haven't seen it, 100% watch it.
It's only an hour and a half. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right, let's do something we haven't done for a little while, and let's have hardest question of the week.
Ooh.
Question of the week.
Hardest question of the week, where we ask on Twitter a question that is hard during the week. This time I ask, what's the worst entrance music of all time? So you two get thinking, if you can think of anything in particular. We had a few replies to this. Josh Loosely said the first theme of the Kabuki Warriors was pretty bad. Wasn't that just Asuka and Kairi Sane's music stitched together?
Maybe. Don't know.
Okay. Bomber Bradbury says Stephen Regal's Real Man's Man.
Oh, yeah.
I had to listen to that.
That's bad.
Before this. Oh, that is bad. Carl Luckhurst says Plain and Simple, and then he linked to a GIF of Brie Bella. I mean,
it was what it was.
I don't mind that. Who else have we got? Capital Clown Face says the X Factor song by Uncle Kracker. Man, that was brutal, as Edge put it.
Oh, Uncle Kracker. I wonder if they're still around.
Probably. Adam Hepton suggested Big Show. Fucking cringe.
Oh, I love the Big Show. Well,
yeah.
Love that bit.
I don't mind it, actually. It's just the fact that the Big Show then comes out is the problem. And then finally, Gihan's World says, I want to say American Males, but actually it's the best. And I think we're going to have to play a bit of that now. That was terrible. John, do you have a choice?
I mean, Eddie Dennis's NXT UK one is up there for me.
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned that last week.
It is awful.
Real bad. I mean, a lot of the NXT UK
I also think Jake the Snake's one's bad as well, actually.
What, his...
Oh, what?
No,
Yeah.
his
we had that in our top 5.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we talked about that in our top 5 entrance music.
You're remembering it wrong, John.
I remember
You're
it sounded
definitely
quite
remembering
similar to Eddie Dennis's.
Oh, no.
No.
It's an absolute tune. I've listened to that. I think I've got that on a playlist just as a good song to have when I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's got no lyrics, does it? It's just
just weird.
What? Oh, I don't know. It's good. Brett, can you think of a bad one that you don't like? The worst of all time, hopefully.
Worst of all time.
Any that you don't like now?
Well, I mean, going along the mash-up or lack of a mash-up, when Sheamus and Cesaro were tag team.
Yeah.
I hate it when they don't give, they do a 50-50 split. They don't even mash them up together either, do they? That's just terrible.
The thing is, surely they're just wanting to wait and see whether or not the tag team get over. Because there's no point in them repackaging them and then people are like, no, I'm not into this.
But when they do get over...
Yeah, I suppose.
And then they still don't do anything.
That is very true. I would go for, and this is relating to old rewinds that we've watched, because anytime we've had to see Right to Censor.
Oh, God, yeah. That is
that alarm. It's just an alarm.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I remember a little while ago watching an old pay-per-view, a little bit worse for that coming on, and I freaked out. I didn't know what was going on.
I thought the fire alarm was going off.
Yeah, I was like, oh, God, a police outside? What have I done?
Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you to everybody who got in touch for the hardest question of the week. Our next podcast is going to be...
It's a Royal Rumble, guys. Royal Rumble.
Yes.
2020.
Yeah.
John's birthday pay-per-view.
Yeah, John's birthday bash, the big birthday bash. We will be watching that, putting Sam through a table and all sorts of other stuff on Monday. So I'm hoping that we'll have time to do a bit of recording when we're all together, and then I expect we'll probably have to finish off the review when we all get home. So we've got that to look forward to. We've all got Monday off, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure, Brett? You're not going to be too busy? Okay. Good. Right. Brett, last thing.
Yes.
How do people get in touch?
They send their emails to hardestpartofthering@gmail.com, and they get us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. We are at hardestpartpod.
Harry!
He's back. He's hungry.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
He's bored. He's bored of us.
Okay.
He's like, you're boring.
I've always loved you, Harry. Anyway, so that is it. Thank you very much to everybody for listening, and thanks to Bret the Hitman Hart for being such a wonderful man. Until next week, when we'll talk about the Royal Rumble, it's goodbye from me, Adam. Goodbye, John.
Bret screwed Bret.
Goodbye, Bret.
Bret definitely did not screw Bret.
Oh, and that was the hardest part of the ring.
That is the hardest part of that ring. On the hardest part of the ring.
I was proud of that Hitman character. He fought for the right causes, and he spoke up, and he told the truth. He always fought so hard. I loved being a hero to people around the world. You think of India, where his kids showed up and waited for a whole afternoon for me just to come to the school. They couldn't believe it was like a god coming to the school. They really believed in you, and they really loved you. This is real. This is something you can never buy.